Hello everybody, and welcome to another, just a little bit of a promo here for a piece of a video that is absolutely amazing, man. These were done quite a few years ago, but these are called the Stars of the Sport, and they're over on the streaming channel. And the first Stars of the Sport, there's already 3 over there now, but the first one is on Andre the Giant. That's the one we're going to be talking about a little bit today. And just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of what these are all about. We've got 4 excerpts from this broadcast, which was almost 2 hours, a little over 2 hours of Andre the Giant stories that came from me, every one of them, my experiences with Andre. And that's what's on this. We're going to run those excerpts for you in just a minute. And after you hear those excerpts, we're going to come back with a little more information about it. This is called Stars of the Sport. It's number 1 is with Andre the Giant.
And the more I was around Andre as time went on, the next 16 years, we went a lot of places together, did a lot of things together. I never saw anybody get the attention that Andre the Giant got wherever he went. You know, I'm 6'9". I'd grown up having people look at me, gawk in some cases, just stare at you, but nothing like when I went with Andre. Andre was like a different, he took that to a huge level far beyond that. So that was my first experience, 1972, Battle Royal, introduction to Andre. He was very nice to me. He treated me like a little child. He put me to the floor, patted me on the rear end, and basically said, "There's the dressing room, get your butt back there." And I went. So I don't see Andre for about 3 years. In 74, a couple years later, in 74, we end up in St. Louis together. And he remembers me. Now he's beginning to speak a little English. He's been in the country for a couple of years. And he remembers me, and he says, "Ron." When I came in the room, he came to me, he introduced, himself, "Ron, I remember you." And I said, "Yeah, I remember you too, Andre." So he takes a liking to me. We spent the evening that night drinking some. We're going to talk a lot of drinking stories here with Andre because that's what kind of Andre was about in a way. But that night, we're talking while we're in a bar together, and he's still limited with English, but there's no Frank Valois anymore. He doesn't have to have an interpreter. He's getting on his own planes and he's handling his own business. Pretty sharp guy. I asked him, I said, "Andre, have you ever been arrested?" We're talking about all types of different topics. And he goes, "Yeah, Ron." And I said, "Well, where'd you get arrested?" He goes, "Albuquerque, New Mexico." And I was like, "Albuquerque, New Mexico?" I was like, "Are you kidding me, Andre? Why?" And well, "I don't remember, Ron." I said, "Well, what happened?" He tells me the story. He says they took him into a cell. He said it was a cell full of probably 20 guys, huge cell. He said they're all standing up. Some of them are sitting on the floor. I said, "Why? Why'd they stand up?" He says, "There was only one chair, Ron." And so I looked at him. I said, "Who got that chair?" And he was like, "Ho, ho, ho, ho." He goes, "You know who got the chair, Ron." I said, "Yeah, I guess so." And I was thinking, my thoughts were, when he's describing this to me, is there's this poor guy sitting in that chair who's the king of the damn cell, and they opened the cell and they put Andre in there, and that poor son of a gun, I'll bet you he got up and said, "Yes, sir, please sit down, take the chair." Another thing happened that night that's really unusual is there's a guy that somehow, because there's so many of us around the table in which Andre's at, eased his way in, and I thought he was with one of the other guys, and the other guys thought he might have been with me, and this guy sits down at the table, and he's getting bought beers during the course of the evening, and he's not saying much. He's kind of sitting back, but he's getting a beer every time Andre buys for somebody else. Andre figures he's with us. Andre buys the beer for this guy, slides him the beer, and the guy drinks. Right toward the end of the evening, I asked somebody, I said, "Who is this dude?" And they go, "I don't know. I thought it was you." And I said, "Well, I thought he was you." So Andre then hears the conversation, and he goes, "Who is that, Ron?" And I said, "I don't know." And the guy got up. He's ready to go home. and he starts to leave. And he gets halfway to the door, and Andre stands up. Now, every time Andre stands up, the club goes silent. Andre stands up, the guy's halfway to the door, and he goes, "Hey, you, come back here." So the guy looks at him like, oh my goodness, right? You could tell the guy's thinking, I better run, but at the same time, he comes back. So he comes back to Andre. Andre gets face to face with him. The guy's looking Andre in the belly button, but they're close together. And Andre reaches over his shoulder and pulls his wallet out of his pants, pulls the guy's wallet out, and he says, "You buy your beer." And the guy says, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir." I mean, the guy's just like, "Oh, whatever you want." And so Andre opens his wallet and takes out all of his money. He's got bills in there. I don't know how much money he had, but he reaches in, he pulls out all the money, and he stuffs it in his pocket. And he takes the wallet, and he reaches over his shoulder again and shoves it back down into his back pocket. And he says, "You go now." And the guy says, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." And he took off. I mean, he literally ran out of the nightclub. So he got his money for the beer, and that gentleman, he survived one of probably the scariest moments in his life. This next story is going to take place in Atlanta, 1978. It's at a nightclub called the Palomino Club. Great big old place. Had a big, huge horse outside the club. It was a country and western club. And Andre and I like to go there. And they had a big old horse, a Palomino, just like a Palomino horse. But he was probably 12 feet tall. I mean, it was huge structure, made out of, if not concrete, something very solid. And no telling how much that horse weighed. And so we were in the club in 1979 in the Palomino Club. And Andre's feeling frisky that night. He's buying beer and he's having people in the club buy him beer, buy him drinks. He would drink sometimes mixed drinks, but beer was his drink of choice most of the time. Occasionally he wanted something else. But that night he was drinking a little bit of everything. He was really having a great time. It was a great group of people, and they were congregating around him. They felt his niceness. They felt that he's not going to hurt me, and they felt comfortable with him. And I remember during the course of the night, there was a big, huge girl there, and Andre talked her into taking her bra off. And I was like, "What in the world are you doing, Andre?" I'm trying to watch out for him because I see he's having a great night. So he has the girl go take her bra off, and she brings it back to him. And this is a big girl, so this is a big bra. And he starts out of the club. And I go, "Where you going?" He's got the bra. And I'm following him. I go, "Where you going, Andre?" He goes, "Oh, Ron, come on. We'll have some fun." So I said, "Where are you going?" When we start going out, so does the club. They just start filing out after him. He goes out onto the street. There's that big Palomino out front. He climbs up on the horse. He gets on top this giant Palomino. He takes the bra and he puts it around the horse's chest and his neck, and he snaps the bra on the horse. And the crowds, now there are like 200 people out there on the sidewalk, and they're all cheering, "Yeah, go Andre, go Andre." I mean, it's becoming a little raucous event out there on the street. And I'm like, "Oh, this isn't good, right?" I'm like, "Andre, get down come on down, man." And no, Ron, I'm having fun. So he's having a good time. And a cop car pulls up. Two guys, they get out of the car. And they don't see Andre. They're focused on the crowd, like, "What the hell's going on out here?" So they pull up there. Maybe they called from inside and said, "Hey, we got a problem out here. Come take care of it." So they get out, and the two cops happen to get out pretty close to where I am. And they punch me, and they go, "Hey, what's going on here?" And I don't want to draw attention to Andre. If they ain't seen him, I'm not going to tell on him. So, I don't know. And about that time, one of them looks up, and he sees Andre on the horse. And he looks at the other cop, and they look up at him, and the guy gets on his deal, his little phone right there, and he says, "We need backup. We need backup here at the Palomino Club." Right? He calls for cars. So another car comes, two more cops. Another car comes. Finally, they wait till there's like 8 cops. Now they got 8 cops, and they back the people away from the Palomino. Get back. They're pushing the crowd back. And then they finally, after a long period of time, they start to talk to Andre. One says, and they know who he is, obviously. The cop in charge, I guess, he says, "Hey, Mr. Giant." "Mr. Giant, would you mind coming down?" And Andre goes, "I'm having fun." The cop says, yeah, I know you are, Mr. Giant, but you can't stay up there on top of that horse. Can you come down?" So they finally talk him off the horse. When they talk him off the horse, then I get involved, and I was like, "Hey, come on, I see he's just having fun." And, everybody in the crowd now, they're like getting a little antagonistic. If they're going to take Andre, the crowd's going to get nasty here. So I think they look around, they see what's going on, the potential for having a worse problem, and they say, "Hey, take him back in the club there, and we'll let this go." So we start driving back to Pensacola. It's a 4-hour trip. When you get to Pensacola, Pensacola has a bay. It's called Escambia Bay. The main part of Pensacola is on the mainland. You drive across this bay into Santa Rosa County. That's where the beach is. You can get on Pensacola Beach, but you have to cross this bridge. It's 3 miles long to get to the hotel. And that night, I had already told him, I said, "You can stay with me tonight. I want you to stay at my place tonight rather than the Holiday Inn." He was happy with that. He's okay. That was fine with him. So we start driving. He drinks 5 gallons of wine in 4 hours in a 4-hour trip. And we get on 3 Mile Bridge. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. And we're halfway across. We're 1.5 miles across the bridge, basically in the middle of that bridge. He'd not said anything for a while, and he goes, "Ron, I gotta piss." I go, "Oh, whoa, wait a minute, Andre." He goes, "Yes, Ron, I gotta piss now." I said, "Well, Andre, we're on a bridge here, man, and there's just 2 lanes. There's a 4-lane bridge, and we can't stop. I can't stop here. Let's get across the bridge." "Ron, I gotta pee." So I go, "Okay." So I put the flashers on my van, and I pull over. There's a concrete abutment. The sides of the bridge is a big, thick concrete abutment that goes all the way the length of the bridge. And he gets out. He walks over to the abutment, and he's going to take a leak over the abutment, but it's just a little too tall for him to pee off of. So he climbs up on the side of the bridge at 4 in the morning. There's cars passing us. I'm in the right lane. I got my flashers on. And he climbs up on that concrete embankment, and he starts to take his leak off the 3 Mile Bridge in Pensacola. And Stubbs and Arn are laughing like hell. They're going, "Wow, Ron, can you imagine what people are saying when they pass this van and they see that huge monster up on top of that bridge taking a leak?" And I had to picture that thought myself about people passing going, "You know what we saw tonight? We saw this big, huge monster of a guy standing on the bridge pissing," So, it was like crazy, crazy night, man. You can imagine what that would be like, Tony.
I hope all of you enjoyed that. It's the very first one, Stars of the Sport. These are very much enhanced. There have been photos added to the audio, which makes such a tremendous difference. In fact, there's more than 60 photos of Andre the Giant in this entire version. And if you want to go to the streaming channel, that's ClassicContinentalWrestling.com, and take a look. You'll find that's about 2 hours of tremendous entertainment, and it's just an indication and an idea of what you're going to see when these Stars of the Sport. And in fact, the next Stars of the Sport is going to be with Mick Foley, Mankind, Dude Love, Cactus Jack, whatever name you want to use. He's going to be the subject next time, and it will also have photos in it, just like the Andre one. So we welcome you to go on over to the streaming channel and become a part of it, and just see what everything that we have on there is all about. And you can still get right now that free trial for 1 week, and that's going to probably be a limited deal. I don't know how much longer we'll be able to do that, but you can still get it now. So please go and take a look and take a listen, and I think you're going to enjoy it. Andre is just, it's really, really a good stars of the sport.